Talysha from P3 here. I've got Amelia from Mizuno. She's a tech rep and she's here to talk all things footwear and Mizuno for us. So Amelia, welcome.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah, me too. It's good to have you.
Yeah, so this is a bit new. I don't really do much digital stuff like this, so bear with me. But yeah, certainly do a lot of clinic visits and chatting to podiatrists and giving them sort of a brand rundown and a bit about our heritage with Mizuno, and then, yeah, some tech updates as well.
Yeah, very good. And you have a little bit of an interesting sort of background. So you studied as a podiatrist before you came into the tech space. So because that's quite unusual. So there's like, I know quite a lot of tech reps and they come from mostly retail backgrounds. So can you give us a little bit of a rundown of like where you went to uni, how long ago did you graduate, and how you kind of got guided into becoming a footwear tech rep?
Yeah, so I guess my story sort of starts, I was about 14 and a gymnast and had a lot of foot injuries. So was seeing a physio and also a podiatrist at the time who was always in my ear telling me to join podiatry, and eventually he, you know, got the message across. But yeah, I started studying sports science, did 2 years of that, loved the biomechanics, and then transferred across into podiatry from there. When I finished podiatry, I was working full-time out in Orange, but I was also finishing my sports science degree at the same time. So oh, wow. I've now got the two. And came back to Sydney and have been, working clinically for a few years. And then, my bosses, so Trent and Amelia, I don't know if you know them. So Trent was the one that got me into podiatry. I then started working with them. And then they knew the previous Mizuno rep, Sally. They knew her very, very well. And she worked at Balmain.
Sally, James, she was McGinnity.
James, yeah.
I went through uni with her.
Oh, right, you're kidding. So, so Sal was in my role a few years ago whilst also working at Balmain with Trent and Em. So they had a really nice sort of link up with Mizuno. And, when they saw that Mizuno were looking for someone, they sort of encouraged me to look into it, and here I am a bit over a year later and loving it.
Excellent. That's really cool. It the Sally connection makes all the sense now. I knew Sal quite well. So excuse me. So what have you found, so do you find that studying podiatry, having some clinical experience with it, and then moving into the footwear tech space, has the podiatry degree helped you considerably with your role, or do you feel that it would probably work the other way, like having all this footwear knowledge is better for a podiatrist, or is it better to have the podiatry knowledge and be a footwear rep? Like, how do you find the crossover?
I think it certainly helps me in terms of, talking about shoes, and particularly speaking to other podiatrists when, you talk about a particular feature and you can link that back to a pathology or a particular patient. I think that's really powerful, and that's the sort of conversation that I really enjoy having. In saying that, sometimes it can mean that I have more questions, which can complicate things a little as well. But I certainly am very appreciative of the sort of footwear, like fundamental knowledge that I got from uni, and then now sort of, obviously that more specific technical background that I'm in now.
Yeah, so and that's one thing that, because I love to geek out on footwear incredibly, and that's knitters' fault.
I'm aware.
But so have you found like what we get taught as podiatrists when we're going through our undergrad, and then sort of what we're exposed to in the clinical space, as far as the technical aspects, is it just a completely different playing field that you're in now, like just with the tech stuff, or is it still relatively basic? And like how techie does it get being a tech rep?
Yeah, I think it gets as techy as you want it to get. So certainly, going through uni, a lot of my experience with footwear, and I'm sure other podiatrists would say the same thing, was in the context of falls prevention. So when you talk about assessing a shoe and looking at the heel counter and looking at the midfoot and, does it flex where the toes flex and all of those things, the research that we've, you know, sort of based that assessment criteria off is coming from a falls preventative space, rather than, hey, this is the technical running shoe, what do we actually want to achieve with that? So I think it's really interesting, and certainly different to the knowledge that I got at uni, but you know, it's a good foundation to then build on.
Yeah, for sure. That's a good point. And so now that we've sort of circled the drain a little bit when it comes to footwear,
yes,
so like, admittedly, I kind of fell off the Mizuno bandwagon for a little bit, because that's just, yeah, what happens. And yeah, my feet and footwear, and I sort of fell into the New Balance, and they had a lot going on, and then Saucony, they were sort of becoming, very, much to the forefront as far as innovation in the last few years. But then it seems like the last year or two, Mizuno is starting to have a little bit of a surge with some new releases of footwear as well. So would you be able to give us a little bit of a rundown as far as what some of the new, like the Wave Rebellion, which I tried recently, thank you. Like that one, that's one that I, up until recently hadn't really been familiar with. So just if you can give us a little bit of a rundown as far as what's new with Mizuno, and then some of even just the staple podiatrist friendly models that you have.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, you know, when I do clinic visits, when I chat to podiatrists, I'm, you know, pulling out shoes and saying, okay, this is potentially what you would be referring for in a clinical population, and then this is what you might be referring for your running population, and making that distinction, because we know that things that we're looking for in shoes are very different. And not everybody is looking for a super shoe necessarily, or is that going to be appropriate for them? So I can certainly give you a quick rundown of our sort of core 4 running models, which would be, you would most likely be quite familiar with, and then some of our more peripheral shoes, or more speed focused shoes as well, for sure.
Yep, sounds amazing. Let's do it.
Cool. All right. So for this season, I guess the biggest update was to our Waverider. Are you pretty familiar with this model, pretty across it, or would it have been a little while since an update?
Last time I caught up about would have been end of last year.
Okay.
So is there a new drop since then?
So it's just landed and just launched on our website. So so obviously this model we took the plate out of a couple of seasons ago. So now it has our signature foam wave technology. So it is a softer technology that we introduced into our range a couple of seasons ago. It's really targeted towards what we term a floating runner. So somebody who's looking for that nice comfort focused premium cushioned shoe for your cruisy long easy runs, essentially. Also can be used as a really nice walker, and certainly, you know, if you do have patients after just a really soft walking shoe, this ticks that box as well. So that is the Horizon. It's a max cushioned and moderate support or stability shoe. We put a little bit more foam weight, so you've got on the medial border there, you can see it is a more angular wave than our neutral model in the Sky. And then improving the stability of the shoe, we've actually wrapped that rubber outer sole up the side of the foam wave. I know it's a bit hard to see on the camera.
Yeah, no, that's all right. I'm just adjusting my Zoom thing because it's
sorry.
No, you're good now.
Okay,
too many monitors happening.
And even just looking at, you know, the platform, it is a much broader, straighter last than what we would typically have been known for, say, with our Rider and Inspire. Yeah,
like that's looking very dyad-y.
Yeah, I mean, certainly it is much straighter. So this is the Inspire, so still support, but you can see the difference there in the you know, base of the shoe and through the midfoot. This also saw the introduction into our support range of the Mizuno Energy Core foam. I'm not sure if you're across that already or if that's new, but that launched in our Wave Sky 5 last year. And it's the highest performing foam that we've ever done at Mizuno. So certainly foams, you know, much like all brands, have been really a big sort of space for us in terms of, you know, research and development there.
Yep.
But yeah, it's the softest foam that we've ever produced. It's the most responsive. The stats are a bit ridiculous, but it's 293% softer than our previous euphoric foam, which was in our Rider 24.
Yep.
And it's offering much more energy return or rebound as well. So yeah, that is sort of sits like a drop-in footbed within the foam wave construction.
Yep.
And then you've got our premium smooth stretch woven upper. So it's a really nice feel, but essentially it's designed to offer what we term an adaptive fit. So it'll stretch sideways to accommodate a broader foot type or bunion, but it won't stretch lengthways, so you're positioned correctly in the shoe.
Yeah, very good. What's the forefoot flex like in it? Pretty.
It's actually, it's
stiff.
certainly stiffer than what the Inspire and Rider have in them. Yeah. And
that's
you can
good.
see,
so for the first MTPJ pathologies,
yes, and we certainly feel in the majority of our shoes under the first, we actually fill in the rubber there, that flex groove, to increase the stiffness there too.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'll show you in it's really cool what they can do with outer sole like rubber design. I think it's really interesting, and I certainly, when I started, had a lot of questions around that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the other big change to this shoe is we actually lowered the offset. It used to be at 10 mil, it's now at 8.
Yep.
So yeah, certainly a really nice shoe for your plantar heel pain patients, for offloading midfoot and forefoot, because it is that lower drop than our Inspire and Rider.
Yeah, beautiful. That's a really good tech update.
That looks great.
Yeah, I like the colorway.
Aesthetics, yeah, we're doing pretty well.
Well, that's really the number one thing that you need for injury prevention, right? And my shoe's pretty.
Yeah, I'm yet to see the literature come out on that, but I'm sure it's on its way.
Yeah, there'll be some.
Yeah.
Cool. So what's next?
Yeah, so that's Horizon. And then Sky is our neutral version of that, I guess. So they're sort of like a brother-sister combo. So looks quite similar in terms of the geometry of the shoe. You can see flex screws look a little different here, so I actually haven't filled in under the first, and a slightly narrower midfoot gauge as well. There's that Mizuno Energy Core foam, same thing, that drop-in footbed, so really soft, really responsive, and then our premium smooth stretch woven upper. It had the update in August last year, and again we have dropped the offset from 10 to 8. It is a touch more flexible, and the really nice thing with both the Horizon and the Sky is they do have a little bit of that forefoot rock profile or toe spring, depending on what you want to call it, which just helps with that really smooth transition from heel to toe and getting someone into propulsion really nicely. So yeah, it is. I really like this shoe, and I think we've had so much success with podiatrists because it does have a little bit more flexibility to it. And because that rock is set a bit further forwards, it means that for your patients who potentially have any balance disorders, they're not going to feel like they're falling backwards in this shoe. They're going to be nice and stable and balanced, but still get the benefits of that rock into propulsion if there is any sagittal plane blockages like a first MTPOA or something like that.
Yep.
So it's a really nice happy medium between, say, a really rigid rocker and then your classic daily trainer.
Yep. Very good. So it's classed essentially neutral shoe. So would you say it's probably like brand equivalency? Would it be kind of on par with like a New Balance 880?
Yep. Yeah. So probably, or 1080, your Nimbus and Glycerin. So they're your neutral, max cushioned for sure.
Yep. Very good.
Yeah.
Cool. So because I always find that doing the brand equivalencies is quite good, because like some people will go, like if you're sort of stuck in like the Mizuno box and it's like, okay, well this shoe, but then if someone's forever just been prescribing like a New Balance 1080 or Brooks Glycerin or Brooks Ghost or something, knowing, sorry, my dog's like right next to me, she's just making a noise. So having that brand equivalency, because if they go, okay, well this style of shoe, like say the qualities that they're after in like an 880, knowing sort of where the Mizunos sort of fit relative to that, I think that's, and you'd probably find it as well, like podiatrists, they like knowing sort of what ones are the equivalent for each Yeah, true. So that was just where that question lobbed in
definitely. I think understanding the category that sort of sits in really helps. But obviously, with all the different technologies and foams that we're using, the cushioning systems are still going to have variability there for sure.
Definitely.
Cool. So that's our sort of top end cushioning shoes in Horizon and Sky. And then we do have our sort of go-to or, more classic Mizuno technology with the wave plate, living in the Inspire 18 and the Rider 25. So the Inspire 18 got updated this season. It was an upper update. So we've had so much success with the tooling of the 17 and that wave plate design. So we've kept that, but just executed a lighter weight, more breathable engineered air mesh. And we've actually softened up the panels. So as I'm sure you're aware, when we do support shoes, we're not just putting the support into the tooling, but also into the upper. So we've actually got that medial and then lateral support paneling or overlay on the upper heel, which really just hugs the midfoot and keeps the foot positioned on top of the shoe. So we've used a lighter weight execution here, and then with the upper, we've actually reduced the weight of the shoe by 15 grams. So it's an it's an extremely lightweight support shoe. But then you can see our classic Inspire plate technology here, and you've got the much higher amplitude of waves on the medial border of the shoe compared to laterally. So it's definitely a smoother wave than older Inspire versions, I guess. And we're really sort of looking to improve that smooth ride or that smooth transition from heel to toe, which is why it is smoother. And then we've still got a really nice soft heel strike with our energy foam in the heel wedge here. Yeah,
beautiful. And the offset in this is 8 mil?
This is 12.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Hang on, I'm looking at the wrong stick. Oh, okay,
yeah.
I've got like a tech sheet.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, so it has been for a while. It's sort of my, my go-to tib post shoe is how I think about it. When I think about the offset, when I think about the structure to it and the stability that plate gives, that's, sort of where I land clinically.
Yeah, and I'd agree, tib post, that tends to be, anything where there's hind foot, just trying to some level of control and but also keeping it lightweight so they can actually exercise.
Definitely. I think it's sort of, it's funny when we talk about brand comparisons, it is quite a unique support shoe. It kind of almost sits in its own category in that it is so lightweight. It is that more responsive, almost faster cushioning for a support shoe. But that's why it's so successful, right? Like this is our #1 shoe in Australia.
Yep.
It's what people keep coming back for. So we'll keep providing.
And it's like, because I deal a lot with some of the sort of smaller performance running stores, and it's definitely one of their staples that they have in there. And I think that speaks a lot to the clinical utility and the versatility of the shoe.
Definitely.
Where it's, because when you have like there'll be some of those running stores that they don't stock them there, but then the athlete's foot will be completely chock-a-block full of all these models that you haven't even heard of. But then when it's, so it's a well-performing shoe and it has a sort of cemented place in the marketplace when it makes its way into the sort of smaller performance running stores. And even if it's not just for sort of high performance runners, but because a lot of those smaller stores, like each shoe has to kind of really earn its place on the wall, basically. So the fact that it makes it there, it's definitely one of the more common ones that I sort of recommend and come across when it is that sort of more supportive shoe that we're after. Beautiful. It's what'd you say, it was a 15 gram
weight reduction? From
that's huge for
17 to the 18.
That's impressive.
So
that mostly
really
came out of the upper.
All of the midsole tooling stayed the same.
Wow. No, I'm impressed with that. That's a huge drop.
And like all the testing we did, the stability was maintained the exact same. But we just managed to get that lighter weight, more breathable mesh, and then the softer support paneling.
So kind of for our active tib post patients that they want to be a bit quicker on their feet.
Definitely.
Beautiful.
For sure.
All right, what's next? Because there are two I want to ask you about, but we're leaving that.
Okay, yeah, we'll get there. So then the Waverider, which is our go-to neutral shoe. It's certainly the most versatile in our range. You know, you can it's light enough to do your gym work in. It's durable enough to do your longer distance runs, and having that neutral or parallel plate in there makes it the perfect platform for an orthotic as well. So from a podiatry point of view, yeah, it's really easy to reach for, I think. So this is the Round 25. Which got updated last year, and we'll get another update in a couple of months. So you can see it's got a slightly different wave plate shape from previous iterations. It is a softer, smoother wave. The Mizuno Energy foam that was in just the heel wedge of the 24 is now the full length top midsole as well. So it's a softer Waverider, it's a more responsive Waverider, and it's a more propulsive Waverider. So you still get that really nice snappy feel. But yeah, it's certainly a little bit more comfort focused as well, which we're pretty excited about. And then to support that softer energy foam, we just put that like medial flare or reinforcement through the arch. But it is still a parallel plate, so it is still a neutral shoe.
Oh, okay, very good.
Yeah. And so then it's got our engineered air mesh upper. But yeah, that's sort of our rider. The offset's still 12 mil. It will probably stay there for a while, I'm guessing, because we just have so many people that, you know, love this shoe and go back to it every season, every update.
Yep. So for our Achilles patients,
yes, definitely. Yeah, I know.
Because I find that the foam in these is probably a little bit more dense. So like for Achilles patients, I find it quite a decent shoe because the foam's not too compliant. So
yes,
one thing that I found is, like, say with like the Asics Nova Blast, so even though that's a 10 mil offset, midsole foam is quite compliant. So for the like mid portion Achilles tendinopathy patients, because the midsole, if you're a heel strike and you strike with the heel, there's a massive give like quite rapidly at that initial point of contact. And I found so some people go, oh, the Nova Blast will be a good shoe because it's a 10 mil offset, but it compresses a lot. But
so it might go from 10 mil to 6 mil if you have a really compliant foam there. Yeah,
and if you've got a tendon that can't tolerate that. So I find that this foam's probably a little bit denser.
Definitely.
Well, no, I won't say denser. That's not accurate. It's stiffer, so it's not as compliant. So yeah, basically I do find it's probably a bit more user friendly for those mid portion Achilles tendinopathy clients.
Yes, for sure.
It's okay. So with you don't have, I'm going to launch into the Rebellion because I did mention it before and I have given it a go and I absolutely love it.
Yes.
So can you give it, because it's got, it's not a nylon, what's the plate? It's like a, is it a
it's
glass fiber?
A glass fiber, infused plate or reinforced plate.
That's it.
So it is a nylon base with the glass fiber, but yeah, certainly it's unique in that it's more flexible than a carbon plate. So it actually bends or flexes to enhance energy return and really looking to offer what we are terming a smoother and a snappier run as well. So yeah, really comfort focused with that flexibility. And then we've also introduced the Mizuno Energy Light foam, so that's a new foam to bring into our range with this shoe. What do you think of that?
Oh, it is snappy and you can feel it. So I've got like the Saucony Endorphin Speed and the Endorphin Pro, and been mucking around with some Vaporfly. So I've got too many carbon shoes for how amateur of a runner I am. But anyway, that's podiatry life, right?
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, like I do find that you still have, like you can feel that so it's got the stiffness of a plate, but you still get the pop and there's still that sort of freedom of movement. And where I found it was quite beneficial is my foot mechanical profile is not fantastic. So I've got short first ray, plantar flexed, and so my medial sesamoids are often getting cranky if I run too far, especially if I go for a run without my orthoses. So I made that mistake recently, but then I found that, yeah, my orthoses plus the Rebellion, because it is that much stiffer through the forefoot, because for slow runs, like I really couldn't justify wearing like my carbon plated shoes because you're running too slow to get any benefit from them.
Yeah.
So I did find it's quite a responsive shoe, and you can definitely feel the plate working, but it doesn't feel like so it's not a carbon shoe, so it's a more versatile, user-friendly shoe, I would say, but it was definitely good because I could still run with an aggravated sesamoid, so it was I was happy.
Yeah, it's certainly like a speed offering that, you know, is a shoe you're probably training in potentially, as well as maybe racing in. Yeah, it is quite a versatile shoe in terms of that speed category. But stay tuned, because we will be having a few more offerings in the performance space in future seasons. So there will be a bit of a lineup to come. Yeah.
I have to talk to you off camera about that one.
Yeah.
That's all good. So are there any other bags of surprises that you have for us?
I guess I was going to ask you, did you have the Rider Neos as well?
Yes.
Nice. How did they go?
I've been using them for my slower recovery runs, but I've basically just with that, but because I have my cranky sesamoid, because they are a bit more compliant down through the forefoot, I've only done 2 runs in them. So the Rebellions I reckon I've put I'd be up to almost 100 Ks on the Rebellions. So really enjoying them. But yeah, the Neos, got 2 runs out of them, but then I've had to shelter. So they're quite light and cushiony. So I'd use them probably more so just for my recovery runs once my feet are not trash. But so, and social media wise, there's quite a few like Instagram like running pages that I follow, and it's been featuring quite heavily on a lot of them. So yeah,
I think you know, like when we talk about Achilles pathologies and maybe leaning towards a rider, it's a really nice option for those cushioning at the back and that booty construction. So, you know, the tooling is very, very similar to the Waverider. So it still has that neutral plate. It still has our energy foam top and bottom of the midsole. But obviously that performance outer sole. So we've got a more exposed midsole and a lighter weight outer sole design, which is a bit softer too. And then our monofilament mesh upper, so really lightweight, and that booty construction up around the ankle. So certainly from a cushioning at the heel perspective, I really love it for Hagelman's patients and insertional Achilles. Plus, you know, it looks like a performance shoe. It looks like your fast shoe, doesn't it?
And I've had like the 2 times that I've, because there's a park not far from my place that I usually head into and do a warm up and then head out on the road. Both times I've been out in my shoes because I got the Neo orange ones. People comment, they're like, oh my God, that's it. See you coming a mile away.
They won't miss you in them.
But you're right, they are plush. Like putting them on, it's probably the first shoe I've put on in quite a while that I'm like, oh my God. It's kind of, plush is like the only word I can think of. It was just a complete hug basically from my entire hind foot. So like first step feel extremely comfy, and like I enjoyed the run. I just need to get some sesamoid love happening before I can throw a few more Ks into them, but the first feel was quite good
for sure. Oh, nice. So I guess we sort of have probably 2 other categories that are really big for us and growing at Mizuno. One of them being trail. I don't know if do you do many trail runs?
I've only got 1. I do trail runs that infrequently. I only have 1 set of trail shoes that I flog to death. But Mizuno trail, I'm completely ignorant, so hit me.
Okay, so we have 3 offerings in our trail space. The Wave Daiky, which is our really lightweight, sort of short to middle distance trail running shoe. I don't know if you've seen that before, but we partner with Michelin for our trail outer soles. So really durable, lots of traction, and we've got quite a specific lug design as well, which they help us out with. And then you've got a foam wave construction, okay, full length, so a softer technology that we're using. And then it does have a rock plate in the forefoot, so really protective, and our woven upper as well. So a really nice adaptive fit there as well.
Nice.
So yeah,
how thick
really,
are the lugs? Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, that's all right. Can't remember how many mils they are, but I'll find out for you.
Can we go like somewhat sidey? Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
No, I can see that's a good view. What I like about the lug spacing, like lengthwise, that's quite good, because some trail shoes you find if the lugs are too close together, yeah, you'll just get all the mud and everything compacting, and then it just becomes a slipper. So they look like they're quite well spaced, which is good.
Yeah, definitely. So that's our really lightweight trail running shoe. And then we do have a more robust trail shoe in the Wave Mugen. So this is our sort of heavy duty, technical, longer trail running shoe. Again, we've got Michelin, but an even more aggressive lug design, which I'll try and get up a bit closer. So essentially that outside lug construction is really to deflect mud, so that you're not, as you said, walking on a slipper. But yeah, then that inside looks quite similar to the Daiky, again, just that multi-directional grip that you're getting. It does have a little bit more stack, so really cushioned, really protective, and then you've got some overlays on the upper as well, so a bit more supportive through the midfoot. But yeah, this is your distance trail shoe. Some people use it as a hiking shoe as well, because it is like quite comfort focused. But yeah, that's our other sort of technical running trail shoe. And then we do have a Waverider.
Sorry to interrupt again. Upper material, like, is it you know how some iterations of shoes they'll bring out like the Goretex version and whatnot, is it any water resistance with the uppers with these two trails, or
with these two, but will be with the next one? But yeah, so this is an engineered mesh, and the Daiky is a woven upper. This has some synthetic overlay material as well.
Okay.
But yeah, so the Waverider Goretex is our waterproof offering. So again, it's on our Waverider tooling, so you've got that neutral plate, our Mizuno Energy foam in the heel wedge, so a really soft heel strike, but a more stable foam in the euphoric on the top midsole. It looks a little bit more like a running shoe in terms of that outer sole design, but with deeper lugs. Okay, so you can see there. So these are 5 mil. Again, that multi-directional grip, and then you've got your Goretex lining in the upper.
Very cool.
Yeah, so it's quite versatile. I sort of like to think about it as a travel shoe, in that you probably, it's an all-terrain shoe. You can, wear it to wherever you're walking, hiking, and then through the streets. It's sort of more of an urban trail offering there.
Yeah, from the hills to the pub.
From the hills to the pub, yeah. That's my sort of shoe. And then the other category that's been absolutely exploding for us is netball. So yeah, we're very excited by our range, and we've had a lot of success in the past, and that's going to continue, I think, into future seasons. But yeah, we do offer a lot of other indoor shoes as well. That's been a huge part of Mizuno, not just in Australia but globally, which has meant that when we've come out with this netball range, we've been able to offer a range of technologies and a range of experiences and a range of colors as well, which, as we know, is so important. So yeah, the Wave Stealth Neo, this is our most premium netball shoe. This is our top end. It has that Mizuno Energy core foam in the forefoot, so really soft, really responsive. It does have our wave plate technology in the heel of the shoe in the rear, and we've also got that EVA sidewall here, so it sort of sits, just kind of locks in cuboid over the midfoot there. So really laterally stable, which I think has been just a big point of difference for us in our netball range is lateral stability. And then that really solid external heel counter that you can see quite easily here. So yeah, it does sit a little bit touch higher around the ankle, and it's got our premium knitted upper with some support straps actually stitched in. So it's really soft, it's really smooth, both the upper and the midsole, but still really stable and a nice secure fit.
Yep. And just for, because there are like, it's a very broad scope of skill level and exposure to sports with the P3 audience.
Yes.
So just explain like one of the main differences between a netball shoe and a running shoe, and why it's important that you wear a netball shoe when you're playing netball as opposed to wearing a runner when you're playing netball.
Yeah, so I guess there's probably a couple of differences, but to highlight all of them in kind of one summary is, you know, a running shoe is designed for heel to toe motion, and a netball shoe is designed for every direction motion. So, you know, certainly there are going to be different features that are going to allow that shoe and allow that player to move quicker on the court and to be more supported when they're doing that. So, you know, if you were to be wearing a running shoe for netball, you would notice that it's going to wear out a lot quicker because it's not meant to be, you know, worn for those different directions. And certainly you would notice that the stability is not going to be nearly as strong as what you're going to get in a netball shoe.
Can you just hold the netball shoe up again, just so people can kind of see how the foam, it wraps up around the side a little bit down outsole versus midsole? Yes. Whereas opposed to like the runner where it kind of just sits layered on top of each other, and that's where you get that shearing where people can topple over.
Yes, so, yes, we do wrap the outer sole on all of our netball models.
Yeah, no, that looks really good. So yeah, basically that's kind of one of the key points. Yeah, for podiatrists, especially when you're educating your clients as far as why you shouldn't be playing court sports in a running shoe, is just, yeah, that lateral stability versus the sagittal plane movement of a runner, and the fact that you guys are kind of catering to it not just being the midsole and outsole, and it goes further up into the shoe. It's quite important.
Definitely. In saying that, so we did some surveys we got some data a couple of years ago regarding how many netball players were actually playing in netball shoes, and at the time it was only 30%. The remaining 70% we assume were still playing in runners. So what we've done is we've brought out a netball shoe that feels like a running shoe but functions like a netball shoe. So this is the Wave Luminous. It's the lightest in our range, and it certainly feels really soft with that foam wave, but it still has the durability of a netball shoe with our X10 outer sole. So that's on all of our netball shoes, and it's actually 80% more durable than our standard rubber. So they're built to last. They're all appropriate for both indoor and outdoor courts because of that durability. But yeah, certainly a more comfortable netball shoe offering than your traditional rigid firm netball shoes.
Yeah, and what's the uptake of that model been like?
Really, really positive. Yeah, we've had certainly quite a lot of interest. I think just those, you know, centre court players that are really light and fast and agile on their feet, and they just want a shoe that feels light and matches that. Yeah, that's where we've had a lot of wins with this shoe.
No, very good. And I think, yeah, so that's good for podiatrists to know that if they're sort of struggling with people to get them from one to the other, that, yeah, really answers to a niche need that exists, I feel.
Yes, yeah, definitely. It's going to feel a bit more familiar to them than going straight into, you know, a more traditional looking or feeling netball shoe that has been a bit firmer in the past. Yeah.
Very cool. And so is that just released? How old's that model? Like, how long has it been around for? I'm stumbling over my words, sorry.
No, that's okay. So the Luminous has been around for a few seasons, but it had a big update last year. So it got softer, it got lighter in that update. And sort of changed the upper construction as well. So we've got a woven upper here now, and obviously that booty construction, so sits up a little bit higher around the ankle as well.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
This is just speaking to like so when I had my clinic in Foster, we basically were like the injury management clinic for the whole netball. It's the association, so all of the clubs that fell within the region. And so ankle sprains, everything, netball footwear, all of it was all on top of. But then it's been like 4 years since I sold my clinic. So
yeah, right.
And then I've been mostly dealing with just runners, and so there hasn't been a huge amount of netball footwear that I've done any updates on in the last, I'd be, a year and a half, 2 years.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, out of loop. So thank you.
That's all right. Yeah, we've sort of got a few other models that I haven't touched on that I can briefly. But the Wave Stealth 5, this was by far our most popular shoe for last year. It obviously looks a little bit more like a traditional netball shoe and certainly feels that way as well. It's got our wave plate technology. It actually extends all the way to the 5th MTP, so really laterally stable still, and that really solid external heel counter. Again, it has our X10 outer sole, so extremely durable. And then our mesh upper with, again, some support straps stitched into that. So really secure fit. But I think the big wins that we've had with this shoe is around the fit and the offering of a D width. So certainly for, any orthotics or even ankle guards, because it does sit a bit lower than what the Luminous and the Stealth Neo do. It's really nice to either, even some of those braces that you actually need to fasten to or attach to the shoe. It's been a really good option for that as well.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah. So that's probably kind of all the key stuff that I need to run you through. But yeah, is there any other questions that you have for me or anything else you want me to go through?
No, not from me. The performance stuff that you have up and coming, I understand how things work in footwear land, so you probably aren't allowed to share that with everyone. So
no, not with everyone, but I can with you.
Once we get off camera, then I'm going to pick your brain about that.
Okay. Yeah.
So just I wanted to, because when we were chatting, so this is just circumventing. So I think you've answered, a lot of kind of the questions that I sort of had in mind as far as where Mizuno's at, what you've got at present, and illuminated me to a few things that I was not aware of, which is great. And so what usually happens is often once we've made the video live, if there's any questions that come through, how can people contact you?
amelia.hofer@mizuno.com.au is the best way to get in touch with me. But there is a technical rep up in Queensland, Tristan, and in Victoria, Jacob, who can also answer any other Mizuno questions for those based in those areas.
Excellent. Well, thank you. Yeah, well, what we might do is just wrap it up. So thank you again for joining us. I've got a lot out of today's chat. I'm hoping that the P3 community will as well. And hopefully we'll catch up with you again soon.
Yeah, that'll be great. Thank you for having
Thanks,
me.
Amelia.